Well, welcome back. This is a short video today on photographing in overcast lighting or certainly dull conditions where there's no sunlight. Now, a lot of times when you're out and about, especially if you live in the UK, we've quite often got a cloud cover, and it's one of my kind of favourite lights to shoot in personally. I think sunlight can be great, but sometimes if it's a little bit too harsh, we get a lot of contrast, you get a lot of strong shadows, and it can be a nightmare when you're viewing the pictures. It causes a lot of distractions. But likewise, in overcast conditions, sometimes getting good pictures can be a little bit challenging to create something interesting. So I'm going to give you a few samples of how we can liven up some dull images. Some of the samples are maybe quite obvious, some of them less so, and I'll try and give you some samples of the retouching as well if time permits. Now, my first tip, I was a bit hesitant about actually putting in the video because I think it's pretty obvious, but as somebody pointed out to me, it's only obvious if you know it. So I'm going to put it in. If you're out and about, just touring around with your camera, not particularly out to photograph anything particular, and the lighting's less than ideal, it's sometimes going to be a good idea to look for strong, bold primary colours like this red telephone box, and that can help add a bit of vibrance to the image. And obviously we can make a few adjustments to this as well and lighten it up, and a lot of the adjustments we'll be making in these images, overcast images, will be ones which will boost the contrast and add a bit of sparkle to what otherwise can be quite a flat looking image. So the contrast will be quite low, so keep an eye on your histogram. You can always look to increase the exposure up to the right, to the highlights, to make use of that sensor, so flood as much light in the sensor as you can, and we can always then add a little bit more contrast in post-production. But that's my first tip, is maybe to look for strong, bold, vibrant colours to help overcome the lack of contrast in the image. My next quick tip is to add drama to your image. This is an image taken on a moor, on Exmoor here in the UK, on quite an overcast, stormy-ish day. And what I would particularly do to this image, and I'm going to take you through those steps very quickly, is to add some drama to the picture. So by that I mean we can really sort of darken this down and add a bit of contrast to the picture and some real mood. Now, first of all, what I would probably do is bring up the blacks in the image quite a bit, like so, and we might even go in and we might add a grad to the sky, and we can really add some drama to this by bringing down the brightness quite a bit. Another good thing would be to add some warmth. Now, when most people view an image, if you showed them a cool image and a warm image, most people will be lean towards the warmth of an image. So it's a good little thing to maybe add a bit of warmth to some of these images. I mean, to any image in that case, but especially on these kind of moody pictures, I think adding a bit of warmth can add the little bit more impact to the picture. So I'm going to drag the color balance across a little bit, like so. That's probably gone a bit too far, like so. Again, we can come in and add a vignette to darken those images up, edges up a little bit. And just generally, what I'm just trying to get out is the fact is just adding some drama to the picture. Even though it's quite a flat picture, we can add some selective contrast, add the warmth, and really bring those clouds out and really bring out the stormy aspect of the picture. I'm going to get a brush here, and we can also add some selective contrast. Remember I said a minute ago, what a lot of these overcast images have is a lack of contrast in them. So by coming in, we can selectively add some contrast if we need to certain parts of the image, like so. And that will also bring our viewers' attention into the centre of the image, like so. So that's a very quick, crude way of doing that, just to show you. So that tip is to add drama to your pictures by the use of adjustment layers, or in Lightroom, like we've just done here, increasing the blacks and the contrast in the picture. Especially if you've got lots of sky, this can work really, really well. So just to finish off, this is what we finished with, and this is what we started with a moment ago. There we go. So there's before, and there's after. So you made quite a big difference there, just with a few adjustments within Lightroom, and you can do something similar in Photoshop. As I said, just bring up the blacks, add some selective contrast, and if you've got a landscape like this with a nice stormy sky, you can really add some impact by darkening that down, and you'll soon forget that it's shot in quite flat, overcast conditions. Another option we can utilise is black and white. Now, I'm not going to take you through converting images to black and white because there's lots of tutorials out there all over the web showing you different ways of doing that. But what I am going to show you is how to go beyond just doing a black and white conversion and adding some colour to the image. We've got split toning, duotoning, and tritoning. There's all sorts of different effects we can do and different ways of doing them. But I'm going to show you today my favourite. I'm actually going to show you more than one way of doing this because there's a couple of ways I use. One's very quick and easy. The other one's a little bit more involved but gives you a little bit more control. So in good old TV fashion, here's an image I converted earlier, and we've done that mainly in Lightroom, and I've brought it into Photoshop CS3 now. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to show the quick and easy way to add a bit of colour split tone to this image. We're going to create a new adjustment layer, and we're going to go to colour balance here. Right, and then what I'm going to do is pick out the highlights icon here, radio button, and I'm going to warm up the highlights and maybe cool down the shadows areas and midtones a little bit. So we're going to start with the highlights. I'm going to add a good helping of red, 15 there, and then I'm going to slowly add some yellow in, but not too much, around 5 or 6 looks like it could work there. And then I'm going to go to shadows, and I want the shadows to be a little bit cooler. So I'm going to add a little bit of blue, about 10, and then add some cyan to that. Not too much. Okay, you can try the midtones as well. Midtones sometimes helps, sometimes it doesn't. Maybe add a little bit of blue there. It's getting a bit purple now, so I don't want to go too far. Let's try a bit of cyan. And in fact, I'm not going to adjust the midtones. I'm going to leave it as it is, and we're going to just leave it the highlights and the shadows adjusted. So here's before. Nothing wrong with that, but here's after, and that's just split tone the image in a very basic, quick way. And of course, we can change the mode to color, like so, and that's just added the colour but without the extra contrast, which I think we picked up on the highlights here. So that's a very quick, easy way of adding some colour. The next way is a little bit more involved, as I said, but it gives you a bit more control. Okay, this next way is to make a curves adjustment. Okay, and we're going to use the color channels. So I'm going to first go to red, and we're going to use the red channel to add some color to the highlights here. So I'm just going to, first of all, I'm going to pin, add a control point on the curve down here towards the shadow end, and maybe one in the middle. And I'm just going to raise this part of the curve up, and that's where the highlights are, like so. Just bring that one up as well. And you can see that there's quite a red cast now on the sky there, but it's not affecting, to a lesser degree, it's not affecting the shadow end or midtones as much because I've pinned it like so. I'm just going to bring that down a little bit. Okay, and now you can go to the blue channel and do the same with this. I'm just going to put a couple of control points in. I'm just going to bring this down, and that's going to add some yellow to those highlights. And I control how much I bring in by how harsh I pull this curve down. So I don't want to overdo it. I want it slightly more red than yellow, somewhere like that. Now I'm going to go back to the red channel again, and we can do the same with the lower end of the curve here, which controls more the shadows and the darker midtones. And we can start by just dragging this down, which gives us some more of a green tone effect to those midtones and darker areas. Okay, I'm only going to do a little bit, and again we can go back to the blue and maybe pull this one up a little bit, makes it get a little more blue in the shadow ends there, and even pull it down somewhere down there, and I can just neutralise that a bit there. And you can also go in the green and have a little play there and see if anything is worth adjusting. I'm going to leave that one as it is. So that's another way. It gives you a little bit more control of where the colours lie. The other thing you can do, obviously, is you could just drop the opacity of this if you find the colours a little bit too strong, and more of a subtle effect. The other thing you could do is obviously fill that with black, and you could come in with a white paintbrush if you wanted to, and maybe just paint in the areas of the toning you want, maybe highlight certain areas, but you need to do obviously this with a bit more care than I'm taking. So there's lots of different ways. There's quite a few other ways you can also do split toning and tri-toning, etc. And maybe I might do another video on this. I haven't done a video on split toning for a long time, but there's a few other ways we can do these adjustments. So there's another little tip for going beyond just simple black and white conversions. Now for this next image, I've jumped over to Photoshop. Now, I wouldn't recommend using this next technique on bright sunny images anyway. I'm not saying don't try it, because it could be fun, but generally I wouldn't recommend it. But I would recommend it for these type of images that we're talking about today, and that is LAB. Now LAB is a color mode, and you can find that if you go up here to image mode, and you'll see LAB color. Now LAB can do lots and lots of very unique things. Not all of which I've explored, but one of the things it does do is can boost colours in a very unique way. So let's give this a go. This is an image shot on quite a misty day. I'm just going to duplicate the background here. We're going to go to image mode and then LAB color. We need to convert this. I'm not going to flatten it, so we'll click on don't flatten, and what it does is it's going to convert the image into LAB color space, which you won't see a difference on screen. From here, we can get into the adjustment layers and go to curves. And you'll notice in curves, we've got 3 different channels. We've got a lightness channel, an A and a B channel. Lightness is just a grayscale channel, just grayscale, nothing else. And the A and B give you the colours that of the each channel contain. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to drag this in the A channel, drag this across like so, and equally do the same with the bottom adjustment. We're now going to go into B. You can see already, look at the sky, it's got a lot more punchy. Go into the B channel, and we're going to do the same with this, equal amounts on each side. If we don't do equal amounts, we'll get a colour cast like so. Okay, and already you can see how much punchier that is. We're going to go Command and Control E to merge that down. We can rename this one LAB, like so. And then go to image mode, and we go back into RGB color. And again, don't flatten. And now we've got this very technicolor, very, very punchy, very garish looking image. But of course, we can change the blending mode to color if we want to. And then we can drop the opacity down to suit. Now the good thing about doing it this way rather than using the hue saturation is not only does this increase the saturation of the colours, it also helps separate colours. So if you've got yellow and green in a picture, which can be quite close together, it will help separate those colours by convert to LAB, help separate those colours and also saturate them. So it's a little bit more versatile than using the plain old hue saturation adjustment. So once again, here's what we started with. Nothing wrong with that, but a little bit flat, a little bit uninteresting. And after that LAB adjustment, the colours just sing off the page, or off the screen I should say, that little bit more. And it's helped to separate this yellow reeds along this path with the green of the track quite nicely as well. And of course you can also, as I mentioned, adjust the effect as much as you like, or even add a mask to it, etc., and just paint the adjustment in where you want it. So that's my tip for LAB color. My fifth and final tip is just that. It's just a bit of advice rather than a conversion or a Photoshop trick, and that is don't dismiss overcast or misty light. Just because the sun ain't shining doesn't mean we can't get beautiful images, and especially for things like the images that are on screen at the moment. With this motorbike, there's a lot of chrome, a lot of reflective surfaces on it, and with sunlight, you can still get great images of this in sunlight, but this light, with this overcast light, gives us much nicer and much nicer effect on the chrome. Same with cars. It's a common light used in studios and on location when you're photographing cars. Is this very soft, beautiful light. So don't dismiss and not taking any pictures just because the sun ain't shining. Here's another example. This was obviously shot early morning, overcast light, quite misty light. Great atmospheric shots. So again, just because the sun ain't come out, don't dismiss getting some beautiful images. So I'm hoping the tips I've given you today will give you a bit of food for thought, give you a few ideas of what to do with those kind of dull overcast images, and I hope to catch you on the next video. Cheers for watching.